So I've recorded 4 videos today, each like 12 to 15 minutes long, and I just hated all of them and was just feeling kind of my anxiety building up about everything I was creating. And so I decided just, screw it. I'm not going to make a video today. People will forgive me. They're fine with it. They don't care that much if I just miss a day, right? And then it clicked. Who else deals with anxiety? Like a lot. Let's do a character examination of Shallan, the woman whose name I can apparently never say right according to all the comments ever. So Shallan is a fantastic character from the Stormlight Archive, the real magnum opus from Brandon Sanderson, the pinnacle of his current writing. And she is one of the reasons that The Way of Kings gripped me so abruptly. I didn't actually catch the mental illness vibes that were happening with a lot of characters, except for hers in my first read-through. I realized she was battling anxiety almost right away, and that's for a fairly obvious reason. Of course, on my second read-through, I got the whole, Adolin's rage issues and Kaladin's depression, which, in hindsight, Kaladin's depression was more obvious than Shallan's anxiety. But I'm going to cover pretty much spoilers for Shallan up until Oathbringer, so if you have not finished Oathbringer, please don't watch the video, because I don't want to ruin the series for you. It's a wonderful series and certainly worth not having any of the super wonderful twists and turns taken away from you to enjoy on your own time. But getting into her beginnings to where she is at the end of Oathbringer, Shallan starts off very meek and nervous as hell, a feeling I'm quite familiar with. She's constantly second-guessing herself, and when she does convince herself to take action, it's usually just in this chaotic scramble to get it done, which doesn't always work out too well for her. She needs to steal this thing from Jasnah. She doesn't really do it well. I think there's pretty clear signs that Shallan is, in addition to anxiety, dealing with PTSD. At this point, it shows even early on, because there's little things that, if you read carefully, are kind of triggering her to feel worse and worse in various situations, and she'll delve into her art in the way that makes her feel as a bit of a coping mechanism. She draws to handle her anxiety. I take showers. To each their own. As she fails at stealing from Jasnah Kholin and really saving her family, which is one of my least favorite things that's happened in Stormlight. Like, she fails to save this thing, which is the only thing that can save her family from being taken out by, like, Stormlight Mafia or whoever it is at this point. And instead of there being huge consequences, like she loses the last bit of her family or someone's sold into slavery, it's kind of just dropped for a while. It's not brought up again. And when it is eventually brought up again, it's not really in a way that makes sense to me as a resolution for what's happened. But let's get back to her character. Let's not worry about the story details. I made that mistake with Kaladin. She then kind of confesses to everything that she was doing to Jasnah, but actually really begins coming into her own after that confession. And once this big thing isn't hanging over her head, this lie that she's living under, we see Shallan take her first steps into being kind of a self-actualized person. Something I've kind of actually walked a similar path with as well myself. Let's just say getting out of high school and finding the friend group I did in college really helped me come into my own, even though I was still an anxious wreck. Fast forward a bit, and she has a new little companion. This little companion is quite obviously a manifestation of her anxiety. It kind of goes off whenever would be feeling anxiety. And in addition to that, it's incredibly socially inept, but that's another issue. I especially like the noise that the audiobook person makes interpreting the little ball of nervousness. It's like Tina from Bob's Burgers. And I don't think every character who's battling mental illness has a physical representation of their mental struggle projected for them. I think I was given this specifically because anxiety can so much feel like this gnawing, annoying thing. You could make a stretch that Syl is kind of Kaladin working through his depression, which I think in some ways she is, but Syl is way too much of her own character to ever just be a manifestation of depression. After this physical manifestation appears, though, and Shallan learns to communicate with it more effectively, and now she's gone from very hesitant and scrambling whenever the pressure's on to someone who's almost reckless with their boldness, which is actually something I've seen before. People who get on medication or feel much better about their anxiety or depression tend to go in the extreme opposite direction at first, just going balls to the wall, nothing can stop me.
Right on! Now world!
Level of extreme polar opposite reaction phrasing. This demonstrates Brandon Sanderson's deep understanding of what it's like to struggle with anxiety. I have no idea if he struggles with it himself or someone close to him does, or if he's just a reader of those kind of things, which it's Brandon Sanderson. He's probably read more than me, so I'd assume so. And this portrayal and representation of mental health on the fantasy page is rare within the genre. Not many authors are willing to commit to writing something as nuanced and taking a risk, really, because there could be a serious backlash for putting mental illness on the page. In the culture we live in today, a lot of people, if you represent them inaccurately, can get pretty upset, which there's some grounds to that being justified in certain cases. But in general, when an artist is trying to do their best to represent something that they want to bring more attention to in a positive light, I never really have an issue with that. I wish some people would do more research, that's for sure, but Brandon has certainly done his here. When Shallan's inner dialogue starts building and you can tell her anxiety earlier in the series is getting worse and worse, it was eerie in the sense that everything kind of felt like it was building and stumbling out of control, and I appreciated that from Brandon. It was wonderful to see such an accurate portrayal of something I personally have felt and many people close to me feel on a regular basis. But moving away from the anxiety part of her character, which it is a very large part of her, but there's more there for Shallan to unravel. She is incredibly smart and witty and one of the best female characters Brandon's ever written in terms of her being well-rounded, never just needing to be rescued or a damsel in distress. And I think Brandon pretty consistently does write female characters well. Vin is another example of one that's strong, and yes, she has a love interest, but almost everyone in Brandon Sanderson books does. So I don't think that's a sexism issue, that's just this guy likes to tell love stories issues, which I have no problem with at all. And as Shallan's confidence builds and her wit and intelligence come out more confidently to everyone around her, she goes from someone who's often dismissed at first to someone that many people respect, and I think an Oathbringer especially began to take charge and really be a decision maker often. Compare this with Kaladin kind of losing control at times, and Adolin's serious simmering underlying issues, which I'm not sure where Brandon's going with that. I don't know if Adolin's going to turn into a bad guy or what, but I'm curious what happens there. In addition to this, Shallan is fiercely loyal to those she believes to be good people. She's willing to put herself deep in harm's way, as we covered, and that whole her infiltrating the, I guess, criminal organization is a way to put it, so brashly. To me, at first was confusing, but I understand it's her really taking initiative on her own, and I don't know at this point if she's trying to prove something to herself or if she really just doesn't trust that many people around her, doing this so solo and so hesitant to let others in on her plots and plans. Obviously, there's not going to be that much of a conclusion to the character analysis here. We're only 3 books into a 10-book series with her, so I'm kind of having to stop before any real conclusions can be made, but I just really wanted to emphasize how much I enjoy the setup that's been done here. Someone who, in the span of 3 books, hasn't necessarily conquered anxiety, but has taken steps to really let themselves flourish, to come out stronger and on top more often than not, and seeing the way especially others treat her evolve was something special, and a level of detail and care put into a series I don't think we often see. And out of every character in Stormlight, aside from Dalinar, I would say I'm most excited to see where Shallan goes. Although with Oathbringer, we really saw where Dalinar went quite a bit, so now she has more potential for growth, in my opinion, than he does even. I didn't realize that till I just said it. Cool. I hope you guys liked this video. Quick channel update. The Patreons will be getting their own special regular content. That'll be WoT Talk in an audio format. You just throw in $1 a month over there and you get 2+ hours of content a month from me. That way, if you're driving to work or anything along those lines, you can just go ahead and not use up all your data for a 45-minute video on YouTube that is just an image. You think they'd have a better way to handle that, but they don't yet. Hope you guys like the video. Like and subscribe if you already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.